What's up, Raider Nation? Today we're diving into a topic that's been brewing for a while, something a lot of us saw coming. It's about a player who has not only become a cornerstone for this team, but is now right at the heart of some serious contract discussions. I'm talking about Colton Miller. Yeah, that's right, big number 74. There's been a lot of chatter recently, and now it's time we really unpack why the Raiders need to be looking at this potential contract extension and what it means for the future of this offensive line. Now, here's the deal. Colton hasn't been showing up to the optional off-season workouts. Keyword here, optional. And I get it, there's this tendency from some fans to throw around terms like holdout or strike, but let's be clear, these workouts are not mandatory. He's not breaking any rules, and honestly, if you're looking at his track record, it's hard to question his commitment. That said, I do wish he was there. He's a guy who's earned the respect of the entire locker room, a quiet leader who leads by example. His absence, though, does say something. It shows he's serious about getting this extension, and honestly, he's earned the right to push for it. Here's where things get really interesting. Colton Miller is 29 years old, still in that prime stretch for an offensive lineman. Yet, there haven't been any reported talks between him and the front office. At least, not yet. But if I had to bet on it, I'd say those talks are coming, probably right after the draft. Teams like to keep their cap situation flexible leading up to draft day, but once the selections are made and the roster picture becomes clearer, that's usually when the bigger contract decisions come in. So if you're someone who believes this extension should happen, and I think a lot of us are on that side, it's time to make some noise. We're talking about protecting the blind side of a quarterback who, despite all the ups and downs, has been putting up Pro Bowl caliber numbers behind an offensive line that's far from elite. Let's rewind a little. When Colton was drafted 15th overall out of UCLA, a lot of people scratched their heads. It wasn't the flashiest pick, but look at what he's done since then. He's locked down that left tackle spot with consistency, toughness, and a level of professionalism you don't see every day. Game in, game out, he's been the guy you can count on. And not just against average pass rushers. He's held his own against some of the best edge defenders in the league. If the Raiders are serious about building a foundation, you don't let a guy like that walk. Not now. Not when your quarterback's health depends on that left side being solid as a rock. Here's another layer to the story. Right now, there is zero guaranteed money left on Colton's deal. None. His cap hit this season is sitting at around $15.7 million, and his base salary is about $12.3 million. That's a big number for a contract with no security. And let's be real, if you're one of the best at your position and heading into the final year of your contract, especially one with no guarantees, you've got every right to seek a new deal. That's not being selfish, that's business. And in a league where injuries can change everything in a single snap, it's smart business. The age thing really blows my mind, too. You think from the way some people talk that he's pushing 40. The guy turns 30 in October. That's not old. Not for a lineman, especially one who's still performing at a high level. I've stood next to Colton Miller, and let me tell you, he's a mountain. One of the most physically imposing players I've ever met, but also one of the most genuine. He once showed up to a chicken wing eating contest we hosted a few years back, and it was one of the funniest things I've seen. That's the kind of teammate he is, present, supportive, and humble. So why are we even hesitating here? This is a guy who has battled through injuries without making excuses. Remember last offseason? He was dealing with a pretty serious shoulder issue. Still showed up, still played through it. And yeah, the first 5 games of last season were rough. He gave up 6 sacks during that stretch. But after that, from week 6 to week 18, he allowed just 1 sack. 1. That's not just a bounce back. That's resilience. That's leadership. That's a dude who puts his body on the line, even when he's not at 100%. And again, with no guaranteed money on the table, a lot of players would have shut it down. He didn't. That tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. Now, for those wondering whether Colton's still one of the top tackles in the league, look, the numbers speak for themselves. According to advanced metrics from a pretty credible source, he was ranked the 13th best tackle in the entire NFL last year, with an overall grade of 80.6. That's elite territory, especially considering he was coming off an injury and still working his way back into form throughout the season. And for those folks who are questioning his consistency, let me just throw this out there. Over the last 4 or 5 years, he's consistently logged over 1,000 snaps per season. Even last year, despite missing a couple games, he still cleared 750 snaps. That's durability. That's reliability. That's exactly what you want anchoring your offensive line. Think about the turnover this team has gone through. Different head coaches, general managers, offensive coordinators, quarterbacks, you name it. Through all of it, Colton Miller has been the steady force on that line. He's protected a rotating cast of quarterbacks, adjusted to new schemes, and still played at a high level. And now, as we head into another critical stretch for this franchise, the idea of not locking him up long-term just doesn't make sense. You can't trade for a quarterback, preach about building the offense, and then not take care of the guy protecting your investment's blind side. That's just not smart football. And here's the kicker. Unless another team is offering a first-round pick before the draft, which, let's be honest, isn't likely in this situation, the Raiders need to lock this down. Letting him go or letting this drag out too long only creates more uncertainty. And that's the last thing this team needs heading into the season. You want stability. You want leadership. You want a guy who has proven time and time again that he can handle the responsibility of being your left tackle. That guy is Colton Miller. We're going to keep this conversation going because there's a lot more to unpack, including some contract projections, comparisons to other top-paid tackles in the league, and what the numbers might look like if a deal does get done. But for now, if you're wondering whether this team should extend Colton Miller, the answer is absolutely yes. He's earned it. He deserves it. And the team needs him. Plain and simple. Now let's get into the real nitty-gritty. The contract details floating around. I saw a tweet right before I hit record that suggested a potential 2-year extension for Colton Miller worth $36 million, with $27 million guaranteed at signing. That would average out to $18 million per year, and $9 million of that would hit next year's salary cap. Altogether, we're talking about a 3-year deal worth $54 million when you include his final contract year. Let's be real, Colton Miller probably sees himself in the same category as some of the league's better-paid left tackles. And if you're measuring by consistency, toughness, and locker room value, he's got a strong case. Look at the recent deals around the league. Tristan Wirfs just secured a monster extension with the Buccaneers. Trent Williams is still setting the bar at the top. And then you've got Dion Dawkins, who got a 2-year extension worth a little over $20 million per season, at age 30. Mind you. Dan Moore Jr., who isn't even in the same league as Miller talent-wise, signed a deal worth $20.5 million this past year. So, if I'm Colton, I'm sitting down with my agent and saying, that's my floor. Not my ceiling, my floor. If the Raiders want to make this work, and they should, they need to come correct with the offer. Something in a range of 2 years, $41 million, with $31 million guaranteed, would feel fair. That structure would put him just above the deal Dan Moore got, and it's still well below Trent Williams' money, which makes it reasonable for both sides. That kind of extension would push his total contract value to around $56.7 million over the next 3 years. And again, with $31 million guaranteed, Colton gets that peace of mind and security, while the team locks down a core piece of its foundation. Now, why is all this urgency hitting right now? Simple. The NFL draft is coming up fast, and front offices across the league are playing a delicate game of leverage. If the Raiders want other teams to believe that anything is on the table with their current roster, whether it's moving up, moving down, or trading players, they need to project confidence and control. That means staying quiet on some deals until the right moment. But make no mistake, if this team is going to invest in a new quarterback or even stick with who they've got, they absolutely must protect that player. And no one is better positioned to do that than Colton Miller. Let's take a quick look at what this quarterback has been through lately. Last season, he was sacked 50 times. The year before that, 31 sacks, during a season that earned him a trip to the Pro Bowl. And in the season before that, he was taken down 46 times and still made the Pro Bowl again. That's telling you something. Even with a middle-of-the-pack offensive line, this quarterback puts up elite numbers. But here's where it gets really important. Those Pro Bowl years came when he had more consistent protection from guys like Colton. You don't take that for granted. And when we break it down by location, it gets even more obvious. In indoor games, like the ones played at Allegiant Stadium, This quarterback has lit up over 14 indoor games with the team. He's thrown 30 touchdowns and just 5 interceptions. That's elite production. And guess what? The Raiders play 12 games indoors this season. So yeah, protecting the blind side just became even more critical. If you're not investing in the offensive line, then what are you doing making moves for a quarterback? It doesn't add up. That's why, as we get closer to the draft, I wouldn't be surprised if something gets done with Colton Miller soon. Maybe not this week. Maybe not next. But shortly after those picks are made and the roster takes shape, I expect movement. And recent reports suggest that both sides might already be closer than we think. It would be smart business to announce that extension once the draft dust settles. Send a message to the locker room and the rest of the league that the Raiders are serious about protecting their investment and building something sustainable. Now, let me pivot a bit because there's another side to Colton that often gets overlooked. Off the field, this guy is as steady as they come. He's a leader, not the loud, flashy type, but the one who earns respect through action. Young players in that locker room look up to him. He's rooted in the Las Vegas community, has built a life and a home there, and honestly, he represents the kind of values you want in your organization. I've had the chance to speak with him over the last few seasons, and what always stands out is how grounded he is. He's faced everything from coaching changes to quarterback swaps to complete roster overhauls, and he stayed the same, professional, focused, and committed. That's the kind of presence that matters in a team going through transitions. When you've got a guy like that in your building, you don't let him walk. You do what it takes to keep him around, not just because he's a great player, but because of what he brings to the culture. I remember a conversation I had with a former player a few years back, someone who's been around the league a while, and I asked him who he thought was the most underrated guy in the NFL. Without hesitation, he said Colton Miller. He told me Miller is the kind of guy who just shows up, handles his business, and goes home. Never complains. Never seeks the spotlight. Just does the work. That's the kind of pro every team needs. And that's why I'm confident that when this deal does go through, it'll happen quietly. No drama. No leaks. No headlines. That's just who Colton is. I still remember the first time I met him. He came in wearing a plain hoodie, nothing flashy, just a big dude with a calm demeanor. You wouldn't know he was a franchise left tackle if you passed him on the street. He's not about the flash. He loves the game and does things the right way. If the Raiders are serious about developing this roster the way the coaching staff envisions, then Colton Miller needs to be part of that blueprint. And now we've reached that final stretch where all eyes are on what happens next. The draft is coming, rumors are flying, and fans are waiting to see which moves are real and which are just smoke. There's a mock draft happening right now across 26, maybe 27 different channels, all tied into the NFL, each one making their picks live. Raiders fans, if you're hoping to be part of the 6th overall selection, now's your chance. I'll be making the picks at 37 and 68, but that top 6 spot, that's up to you. The energy around this draft is wild. The moment this video goes live, I might already be on air or just minutes away from hitting that live button. So make sure you're locked in, subscribed, and ready, because things are about to get fun. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. When whispers started surfacing about TJ Watt possibly joining the Las Vegas Raiders, most fans dismissed them as fantasy talk. But as the smoke thickens around Allegiant Stadium, that fantasy is quickly morphing into a very real possibility. What if one of the most feared pass rushers in the modern era? Yes, the man who once matched Michael Strahan's single-season sack record, actually suited up in silver and black. Raiders Nation, brace yourselves. This storyline could change the AFC West landscape overnight. TJ Watt, the relentless edge machine from Pittsburgh, has already carved his name into the NFL's defensive pantheon. With 100 career sacks in just 109 games, a pace matched only by legends like Reggie White, Watt isn't just a household name. He's a game wrecker. In 2021, he tied the NFL's all-time record for sacks in a single season and has since maintained a near sack-per-game average. The younger brother J.J. Watt, he's proved more than capable of carrying on the family legacy while forging a destructive path all his own. Now imagine him lining up opposite Max Crosby in Las Vegas. Defensive coordinators around the league would lose sleep at the thought. The Raiders, long criticized for their inability to consistently pressure the quarterback, could instantly field one of the most terrifying pass-rushing tandems in football. With what's still just 30 and showing no signs of decline, recently earning AFC Defensive Player of the Week after a dominant performance against the Giants, he remains firmly in his prime. If Las Vegas wants to compete with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, this is the kind of move that closes the gap. But how realistic is this blockbuster? Pittsburgh has been publicly quiet, but reports suggest internal tension following Watt's limited preseason action and concerns over long-term durability. Las Vegas, with cap flexibility and a desperate need to become relevant in a crowded division, could be willing to offer both high draft capital and financial guarantees to lure the Steelers into talks. The Raiders' front office has already shown a willingness to swing big. Remember the Davante Adams trade. And this move would top them all. For now, it's all speculation, but in the NFL, smoke often precedes fire. And if the Raiders can pull off the unthinkable and bring TJ Watt to Las Vegas, it wouldn't just be the biggest headline of the offseason. It could be the turning point in a franchise desperately searching for its identity in a post-Derek Carr era. Keep your eyes on this one. Something is brewing in the desert. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.